Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Sports Empire Network. I'm Kyle Livers, of course. And just like yesterday, I'm giving you another recap of today's action in the World Cup. So it was 4 games today, action packed. We had some surprises, which I'll talk about. And then we saw pure dominance from one country that I think put the rest of the tournament on notice as probably being the favorites after just this first appearance. So like I said, go through these 4 games, give you my initial thoughts, and I'll get you caught up on all the action from day two. So it started off very early in the morning, for 5 a.m. Eastern, whatever that time is in your time zone. But we got the shocker of the tournament so far, where Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. Argentina with Lionel Messi beat them this morning 2-1. Now it was a game where Argentina had quite a few goals called back because of being offsides or whatever. So the opportunities were there for them. It was just that in the game of soccer, the the margins are just that thin. It could be an elbow offside or something, and the goal gets called back. So they had like 3 or 4 called back because of that. So obviously, if those players were onside, this game looks much differently. But you got to give Saudi Arabia a lot of credit. They came out, executed their game plan. They played kind of a defensive shell where a lot of times where Argentina was on the attack, they would get in the way, block shots or whatever, and then get out, try to get into counter attack. They definitely took advantage of their 2 opportunities, which is where their 2 goals came from. The second goal was a world class goal. It was a guy on the right side of the box, cut inside, and then he hit it up into the corner, put bend on the ball so the keeper couldn't get to it. And you also got to give Saudi Arabia's goalkeeper a lot of credit. Um, I mean, he was all over the place. He made incredible save after incredible save, and because of that, that's what really gave Saudi Arabia a chance in this match. Now, it's going to shock the football world or soccer world that Messi and Argentina lost this match, but I think, as I kind of said yesterday, when it comes to the first game in these World Cup tournaments, anything can really happen. So I think what we're seeing, though, is the smaller underdog nations are feeling like, you know, they have a real chance to shock some of these bigger nations. So Saudi Arabia, gotta give them all the credit in the world. Now, what this does is it puts Saudi Arabia in the conversation of possibly getting out of this group by getting this win, because them getting 3 points puts them in a very good position to win the group, which would be shocking, but at least finishing second and getting out of the group. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit when I talk about the second game from the group. But right now, they're sitting good. Now, Argentina fans, I'll let you know in a little bit why you have a little bit more optimism, especially at the end of the day, than you did in the beginning of the day. So remember that when I come back to it. Second game, we had Denmark, Tunisia. And once again, Tunisia, another one of these small countries that was going up against Denmark, who some people have as one of the dark horse candidates to make kind of a deep run in this tournament. Well, even though it was a scoreless draw, I will say it was pretty exciting to see because this game was kind of wide open. If you look at the stats from the game, Denmark had 61% of the possession, Tunisia only 39%. So you figure Denmark really dominated this game. Tunisia had their opportunities, but both teams kind of played to a stalemate. Like I said, wildly exciting for a 0-0 draw, but not the worst thing. I've always said when it comes to the first game, a draw, you can live with that. Loss in the first game, you kind of feel like you're sitting behind the 8 ball, but we'll have to see where both these teams go from here. I fully expect Denmark to make it out of that group, but Tunisia's got to feel some type of extra confidence knowing that they could hang with a squad like Denmark. So for them going forward, because it's a tough group for them, with Denmark, France, and Australia in that group. So Tunisia's looked at as the easiest opponent for those three teams, but they hung with Denmark, so we'll have to see going forward. The third game of the day, we got Mexico and Poland, which was another game that went scoreless draw. And it was another game dominated by one team over the other. Mexico had 61% of the possession. Poland had 39%. Poland actually had the best opportunity in this game because they had a penalty kick in the second half, and they had Lewandowski, who's their star player, obviously go to the dot and take the penalty kick. But Ochoa, the Mexican goalkeeper, guessed right, made the save. I think Lewandowski could have, hit the ball better, but it was still a really good save from Ochoa. And ultimately, that ended up being the best opportunity in this game. Mexico, they didn't look bad, I will say. There were some questions about Mexico coming into this tournament, and I feel like they showed well for a game one against a Poland squad that kind of stout defensively, and with Lewandowski up top, he's always a threat because from his days in the Bundesliga, where he was um, leading that league in goals like year after year after year. He's a guy who knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. Just that didn't happen today, and you gotta give Ochoa all the credit. Ochoa's probably one of the best goalkeepers in the world. He's been around for a while, but he's definitely been a legendary guy from Mexico, and he was that today again. So now bringing it back to the Argentina part of this. So Argentina, with that loss to Saudi Arabia, the biggest worry for them was that Mexico or Poland would win this game, and then the top two teams in the group would both have 3 points. They'd have 0, which would put more pressure on their next game, because if they were to lose that game, they'd get eliminated, pretty much. But now with it being Saudi Arabia 3, Mexico and Poland 1 point, and Argentina is still with 0 points, the margin of error for Argentina is a little bit bigger than it was this morning. So now their emphasis, of course, is going to be, I think they play Poland next. Don't quote me on that. It's either Poland or Mexico. So in that game, they could afford a tie if it came down to that, and still necessarily have a shot, to get out of the group. A win in the second game, they're right back in it. So, Argentina fans, Messi fans, it's not the end of the world. It was a big loss to Saudi Arabia. But we're about to see also, Argentina, should have said this before, how do they bounce back from this? Because with all the expectations for Argentina, to go out and lose a game like that, it could wane on some confidence in the locker room. We don't know. Do some of the Argentinian players now come out in the second game, try to do too much to overcompensate for losing the first game? And if you do that, sometimes you could be overly aggressive and get yourself in trouble. And especially with the yellow card situation in this World Cup, where I believe it's 2 yellow cards and you miss the next game. So if there's any guys who are, on a yellow card and going into the second game, if they get a second one there, they'd miss the final game, which could be a big deal. So we'll have to see what Argentina looks like in their next game. But all in all, they're not in a bad position. Mexico and Poland feel pretty good coming out of that game with a draw. So they're both, tied for second place right now. So both of them kind of have their ability to get out of this group right there in front of them. And for both of them, they're probably looking at a Saudi Arabia team, which is going to be going up with a lot of confidence out of this Argentina game. And now that game isn't going to be necessarily a guaranteed 3 points anymore. So this group has just become more interesting than before. The final game, we had France versus Australia. France won 4-1. And as I said in the intro, France let people know they are in this to win it. They had the best performance, I'll say, so far out of all the teams in the World Cup. they look dominant today, and that's scary. Um, Mbappe was a threat on the left side all day. That's how they really attacked Australia. Early on, they couldn't find the right cross into the box or the right ball into the box to get opportunities. They were just a little bit off, and Australia would, clear the box. But once they got that first goal in the 27th minute, it was over from there. Australia actually got the first goal in the ninth minute, and when Australia scored, I think a lot of people were wondering, are we going to have another Argentina situation on our hands where Australia kind of shocks people and knocks off France? Nah, did not happen. So like I said, once France got the equalizer in the 27th minute, that opened the floodgates, and they just dominated from there. I want to see the possession real quick. So yeah, it was France 62%, Australia 38%. So most of these games, possession was one way, but you know, as I said, these first games are unpredictable. So, uh, quick recap: Argentina lost 2-1 to Saudi Arabia. Not all bad. Denmark, Tunisia, scoreless draw. Mexico, Poland, scoreless draw, which is fine for the first game. And then France looks like the best team right now. Um, Now, looking ahead to tomorrow, like I said, I'll come back again tomorrow and recap what happens then. Same way I'm doing now, but we've got Morocco, Croatia. Croatia is a team that some people think is another one of these dark horse countries that could make a deep run. So a lot of eyes will be on that game to see how they look. You got Germany versus Japan. Germany's one of the favorites, so of course we're going to want to see what they look like. Spain, Costa Rica. Spain's another team that has fallen short some years, but the way this tournament's going, who knows? Maybe Spain's a team we should watch out for, because Spain does have a lot of talent. It's just that sometimes in these big tournaments they just don't put it all together. And then Belgium, Canada is the late, well, not late game, but the last game of the day. I'm probably higher on Canada than most people, but Belgium's another one of those squads that, if things fall the right place, Belgium's a team that has the talent to win this tournament. It's just whether or not they put it together as well. So, another exciting day tomorrow. And as I said, at the end of the day, I will be here. Sports Empire Network lets me. I'm kidding, of course, I'll be here. But, shout out to Freddie and Keith for letting me do this. Shout out to you guys for tuning in. So, obviously, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe as well. It really help us out. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the action today and you enjoyed it again tomorrow. So I'll catch you tomorrow and we'll recap and do this all again. All right, guys, have a good one.